Hello, everybody. Travis here. I am sorry if there's a weird delay on my voice and stuff. I did not have time to check for any of that stuff. And we had some network stuff going on before this. But we're here and we're here on time. So if you're here, please feel free to say hi in the chat. Love to know who's all hanging out with us. I don't get a list like I used to get. Things like that. It just tells me the number of people in the chat. So, anyways, welcome again. Uh, week three, yes, week three of the live streams every Wednesday at 7 p.m. here at Traverse Music. And today what we're going to do is we're going to work on helping our action on our acoustic guitar. Now, this is not going to be like a full setup. This is just a couple little tips and tricks we can use to really get our action lower. While I'm doing this, I'm also going to just show some straight up cleaning techniques and things like that too. But again, not a full setup. The majority of this video is going to be us really figuring out how to straighten our neck out properly and then what to do about our saddles if they're too high, because a lot of times people don't know how to change the saddle or adjust the saddle or anything like that on an acoustic guitar. And that's something that takes some time. We want to do it carefully. But this guitar was brought to me by a customer last week. He said that, he loves the guitar, it sounds great, but the action's just too high for him. And I said, yeah, that makes sense. We got a bit of a bow in the neck here. The saddle could use some sanding and stuff like that, and you could tell that it's just sat just by the dust on the headstock alone. So what we are going to do is give this a good cleaning. We're going to oil some of it. I'm going to explain to you why we're doing the things that we're doing, and then we're going to get to that action, which is like really the reason why most people are going to watch this after the live, and why some of you might be here in the first place. So what I like to do right away when I have a guitar is it's fairly in tune. Hey, Barry, what I want to do is adjust the truss rod right away. And the reason why I do that is because I can make sure that the neck is straight right now. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for the comments on the last video, too. Thank you so much. The reason why I like to adjust the truss rod now is because then I know that it's straight with the strings under tension. I'm not keeping these strings on here. We're going to change the strings out. But why change the strings out and then stretch them and all that other stuff and then go ahead and straighten the neck? Plus, what we're going to do with adjusting this saddle down here is tighten and loosen the strings a lot. And we want to make sure that we have our neck straight while we're lowering our saddles so that we know that the action and the height on the saddle is what we want it to be. So, I would say most probably, acoustic guitars, the truss rod's adjusted inside here. On a Taylor, it's adjusted like an electric guitar, like most electric guitars, where the truss rod's up here at the headstock. So, I gotta remember what size. I think they use a 5/16. But I'm looking down this neck and no, it's definitely not the 5/16. It's the 9/32. It's smaller. All right, cool. So now I have a perfectly straight neck. There might be the slightest little bow in there. And if that's the case, a very, very slight bow is okay. Most people have it in their guitars anyway. But we still have what looks like the strings are just going up the whole time. They're not straight across this fretboard. Can we try to zoom in on this? And maybe we could see this. I'll try to put like a background so you can see the strings. See how they're raising? They keep going higher and higher. Way up here. We need to drop these all down a lot. So they constantly go up on this. So we can go back to zoom home. Just click zoom home, please. There we go. Does it automatically. It's pretty cool, huh? And everybody say hi to Everly in the chat too. So, so with the neck straight, it doesn't look quite as bad as it was, but it's still bad. I would not enjoy playing this guitar at all. And this is a Taylor. I mean, the guy spent well over $1,000 for it. It's a 200 series, which is a solid guitar. It's got the electronics. It's got the cutaway. Let's play this guitar. So neck is straight. Next thing we're going to do is now that we know we have a straight neck, we're going to take the strings off. We're going to start cleaning this thing up, and we're going to get that saddle prepped for what we need. We know we need to take a lot off this right here. So we got a lot of work to do on that saddle there. It's helpful to loosen it instead of tightening it when you're taking strings off. Pro tip, life hack. Don't you love life hacks? I watched a guy fix a front step with quote unquote eggs, and he just poured raw eggs in and then put cement on top. I'm like, what am I watching? This is my life now. This is the stuff I watch now, apparently. I could have been learning, spending time with my family, not clicking on that clickbait. How's he going to fix those stairs with those raw eggs? All right. Pardon me. Ooh. I am 99% sure these are the original strings. And the thing was, the guy told me, who brought it in, he said, like, I've had this thing a long time, and I really liked it when I checked it out, when I played it, and then when I took it home, it just wasn't playing as well as my Fender Acoustic. I'm like, well, there's not really a lot of Fender Acoustics out there that rival Taylor's, so I'm guessing you need to bring that thing in. Let me take a look at it. Sure enough, definitely needed some work done to it. So, pulling end pins, if you don't have this tool, it's pretty fantastic. It's called an end pin puller. This one particularly is made by a company called Snaps with a Z at the end. They're like $6 on Amazon or something crazy cheap like that. Totally worth it. You pull this circle all the way up to the top, slide it over the peg, push the circle down, pull it up. It's awesome. You will save yourself a lot of money in end pegs by not using stuff like pliers and things like that. It's pretty rare when a guitar comes in that doesn't have these all ruined or pushed in too far or anything like that. So we'll go over that too when we string it up, how to properly put your strings and your end pegs in, because we're not trying to push it in as hard as we possibly can. That's a big no-no. I hear Everly quietly in the side go, oops. Everyone's done it. I've done it. When I was younger and I didn't know, I was stringing up my first acoustic and just pushing those things as hard as I can, and that string's not going anywhere. Nope, Chuck Testa. All right. Oh, that's in there. Ooh, that is tight. So right now, I'm just trying to get the saddle out. Ooh, it's a very tight fit. A tight fit is necessary on Taylor's because they use this expression system, which vibrates. The back of the nut is going to vibrate, or the saddle is going to vibrate on these three expression system pickups right here, and that's how they get their tone and stuff. If you are unfamiliar with acoustic guitars, make sure that you see which way this is going in. If you are using a newer style Takamine, you are not going to be able to use this process. Probably should have said that right away. But chances are that there are shims underneath your saddle. So if you lift this up, or you have a used guitar, and you pull your saddle out, you might see shims under there. What you also might see if you're not using a Taylor is you might see a copper wire that is braided. That's the same width as this saddle along the bottom of that. And that might actually come up and start to come out with the saddle itself. That's okay. but we're not going to bend and mess with that. That's your piezo pickup. It is very, very important we don't bend that and we don't play with it. Just have it, just lay it back down in there. With the piezo pickups, it is super, super, super important that we follow all the instructions. I'll go over that when we get to the point, get to the part where we start messing with this. Um, and with tailors, it's also very, very important that we maintain a really tight fit. So we're not going to sand this any thinner. Even though it was very tight to get in and out of there, we want that tightness for their pickup system. If we change that, we're going to change the way their pickup system's working. And that's on the ES2 system. Trying to remember how the ES1 system works, but I can't think of it offhand. Their ES2, which has the 3 nodes on top. We're not messing with that. We're keeping the saddle the same width so that it's still a really tight fit. That's a must. All right. I mentioned before this thing had not been cleaned in a while. It is quite dusty. We're going to do all the things I normally say to do. Besides clean these frets, because the frets look fantastic. So we're not going to worry about that. I do want to make sure that all those tuning pegs are tight. So I'm going to grab a few wrenches because I don't remember what Taylor uses. I'm going to guess it is this one right away. I grabbed them all for no reason. So it is that one. 10 mil. Most of them are 10 mil, but you never know. These are a little loose. So glad we checked it. Yeah, big time. Done with that. I'm going to use my Dunlop Formula 65 guitar polish and cleaner. Spray it on the rag. The only reason why we spray on the rag is so the guitars, we tend to use a lot less of this stuff when we're doing that. The wood is what I'm going to wipe down right away. So I'm wiping down the bridge right away. I'm getting all the dust and stuff off of that. And then I'm going to wipe down the fingerboard. Now there is very little goop on here. There's no DNA. Again, the guitar wasn't used much, which makes sense. Building any baritones right now? No. No, I'm not. Um, I want to. It's just been trying to fit literally anything in between all the repairs and the streaming and the videos. And I just dropped another video today, which was painting. I'm sorry, no. Painting dropped a couple weeks ago. The video today we dropped was the finish work and how to get that shiny finish on your guitar after you've sprayed your finish on there. So just been super busy with all that stuff going on. Usually in like November, December, for a place like me that doesn't sell guitars outright, with unless they're customs and stuff, things should slow down. So I'm hoping to be able to get more into the building at that time. Just not spending enough time building as I want to. Oil. We are going to put oil on our bridge. This is very, very important. And the reason why is because if this thing starts drying up, it's going to shrink. Wood shrinks when it's dry. This is glued to the top of this beautiful piece of spruce. If it dries, that glue is going to start breaking. If you've ever seen acoustic guitar with the bridge peeling up, chances are it's because it dried out. The top here didn't lost its arch. There's actually a slight arch on most acoustics when they have enough moisture in them. So at the right humidity, we have a slight arch here, and then the bridge here is also fitted to that. If it dries up, this arch goes away and actually starts caving in. That's how we get these seams right in the middle of the guitar. You see those breaks right through here. And that's also how bridges start peeling up because they just get way too dry. The oil is soaking into this thing like crazy already. This fingerboard also very, very, very dry. If you have an ovation and you have those leaves by the sound hole up, there's like a couple holes up here, and then there's maybe some leaves down here. Those on the high end ones are often made out of wood as well. If those dry up, they will start curling and peeling too. So it's also a good idea to oil those if they're not finished. If you put oil on a finish, you'll know. You'll realize right away, hey, that's not getting soaked in. Now I just have a puddle of oil there that I have to clean up 7 times because I have oil. So, um, yep, just a lot of the open pore stuff. Open pore stuff, we want to keep moisture in there, whether it's via having the guitar at the right humidity with something like a humidipack by Dario or oiling it properly. There's just so much of this getting soaked up already. That's crazy. Um, I understand if you're a little hesitant to want to wipe over the electronic system here. I've never ever had an issue. In fact, we're not going to leave it like saturated or anything. I'm going to give this a couple more minutes here, and then I'm going to wipe it all down so that we don't have residue left over. I've never had any issues. So, besides that once, no, I'm kidding. It's soaking in quite nicely. You can tell this thing was dry. It soaked up a ton of oil already. So, put my cover back on this because I have spilled way too many things, way too much. How often do you see baritone acoustics? I have never had one in the shop for repair or sale. That's how often I see them. I have seen them, just nobody's ever brought one in, and I've never sold them before. Besides, you don't play acoustics. This is a very linty cloth, and I don't appreciate it. Want a little better. Gotta complain to my crew that brings in my stuff and say, hey, stop giving me these linty towels. All right, I'm gonna be right back if you guys can hang tight real quick for me. Thanks. And we're back. Oh, got some non-linty ones. Way better. All right, so this is wiped down. This is wiped down. Um, I do want to wipe here and here where the strings are, like cleaning wiping, that is. I'm going to use some of the Stumax stuff because it was literally right there. No other reason. I don't have a preference on one or the other. If you are cleaning right here and you are pushing like really hard by your pick guards and you have very pointy ones, make sure to go away from the pick guard, not at the pick guard, because you can catch a rag on that and rip that thing up. That is an awful experience, and trust me, you don't want to do that. So, all right. So, we need to take some material off our saddle. We also need to string this thing up. Now, you guys might have a different way of doing this. You might have seen a different way of doing this. This is the way I do it. This is just the way I like to do it. And um, overall, I find it's the most effective. What we're going to do is we're going to put the high E and the low E string in here right away. We're not going to tighten it down or anything, obviously, because we don't have our saddle on there. But we got our D'Addario phosphor bronze XS strings, which are pretty darn fantastic. I play these myself, absolutely love them. I play them on my electric as well. And our low E. That's the thicker one. And this is how we properly put our end peg back in. We're going to stick the acoustic string, bead first, obviously, into the hole just a little bit. And then I'm going to push. Now you're zooming in on this real quick. So I'm putting this here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start pushing this down with the peg. And I'm going to pull up on the string. And I don't know if you heard or saw that. The string came up a little bit right there. Right here, I'm pushing. And then it pops up right there. Right there, we moved. What that is that's that string where this, oh, sorry, that's the string where this peg is curved, got an angle to it. So it's fitting in a perfectly straight hole with that angle. That angle in this pinch in that hole with that angle is what's holding this bead in there. It's not going to be the pressure of the peg in the hole. Right there, that string just popped up again. I'm just going to push this down so that it's level. I didn't push it really hard, but this shouldn't be going anywhere. You could tell Liam confidently that I was not doing so. I was just grabbing a lint-free rag, although I would want to use the lint-free rag for that as well. So, also tell Liam I said hi, bud. So, we're going to straighten these out. When I don't know, I always have my holes for my tuners going straight through whenever I string my guitar up. I just find it easier. Maybe I'm being picky. Low E. So everybody has their own method to stringing a guitar. I'm not here to teach that, although maybe we'll do that for a week. If anybody wants to see proper stringing techniques, let me know. I'm just going to do it the way I know it's going to be the right number of lines and all that stuff for what I know is correct. All right. Now I still have looseness here. It's not going to be loose enough, but I also didn't want this so loose that it was going to fall off the tuning peg, right? Because we're going to have to get the saddle back in there, and then we're going to have to tune this string up and make sure that our action's where we want it at. So, low E and the high E string. This is also a process that we don't want to take a bunch of tries, if at all possible, although if this is the first time you're doing it, chances are it's better to do more tries than not. And the reason why is you don't want to take off too much material and all that. I'll get to that at that point too. But again, put our peg in, push down slightly while we're pulling up. There it is. The string is in there. It's not going to come out. We didn't push very hard. Easy peasy. Lemon squeezy, something, something. All right, this one's looser because it's going to have a couple more reps than the first one. But now we got two strings in here. We're going to need to be able to get the saddle in there without breaking anything, and we will. So we are good to go. So what are we going to do with this? We need to make this smaller, and what we're going to do is we're going to sand the bottom of it down. Now, I know how much I want to take off, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pencil, which I hopefully have right here. Oh my goodness, what are the chances? I'm going to take a pencil, that I didn't have to look for finally. And I'm going to draw a very small line on this, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done to the amount of material I want off. Right. My wiggly little line. The biggest thing is the ends, really. All right, let's zoom in on this real quick. See if we can see that. So there's a very fine pencil line on the bottom there. Yep, you can see that for sure. Now the ends are the true thickness that I want to pull off. And we're going to sand this in a way that we're going to be able to take this off evenly. So eventually most of that pencil is going to go away. We just want to get us up to the top of the pencil line on both ends while we're making sure that we sand flat and smooth. The reason it's so important to sand this flat and perfectly smooth is because if you have a piezo pickup, you need this to sit along the entire piezo, the whole length of it, because it's going to pick up the vibrations from the saddle on the piezo. So if it's not sitting on the piezo nicely, you're not going to pick up all the strings. If you've ever played a guitar where your high E string or B string wasn't working properly, it's because somebody sanded down the saddle on you, or when they changed the strings, the saddle fell out, they reinstalled it, but they didn't put it all the way down. That's what's going on there. Also, you don't want it rocking. Even if you don't have a piezo in there, you don't want this thing rocking because that's going to create tuning instability if you're able to go up and down with it. So we definitely need this thing perfectly flat, and I'm going to show you guys how to do it. It's actually super duper easy. So I have to zoom in way on the other side of the table here. Take a flat surface and a surface that you know is flat. Get all this stuff out of the way. Right over here. Can you get over here? Perfect. All right. I have a perfectly flat surface. Now I'm just going to take a piece of sandpaper. This is 400 grit, so this is going to take a while to get for me. I suggest not going any lower than 400 grit because, again, if you don't need to take off that much material, don't. You want to do this a little bit at a time. So I'm going to take off less than what I need right now just to show you how to check to see if you're ready yet. So I'm going to start just sanding this thing on the bottom on the sandpaper, and you're going to see you start to build up dust. And I'm keeping this perfectly flat on this flat table here so that I have a flat bottom. All right, I know this isn't enough, but we're going to go ahead and install this and look at it just to see what it's like. So go ahead and zoom. So I'm going to put the saddle back in here the way I know it goes. And then what I would do next here is I would tune this E string up, both E strings, and I would check my height here. Now again, I already know that's not enough. I can see it now already. Just tighten it up a little bit. We still have quite a ways to go. We want this up there. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this off now by loosening it up. Not all the way. I'm loosen it up enough to get off. Now again, this one was kind of tough to get off, so I am going to use this to help pry this out of here, especially with the string there in the way. Do not take like vice grips to try to pull your saddle out and stuff. It will leave marks in there. You want to use a tool gently if you have to use a tool, and then also not a tool that you're going to leave a bunch of marks. So I'm just going to go back to sanding here. And I'm going to be watching my pencil line. Somebody needs dust in here. Now, normally I would use like a 220 grit because I know how much I need to take off on this, but I also wanted to show you guys how quickly you could actually remove material. And we are removing a ton. So even with our 400 grit, it's coming off quickly. Ooh, really close. There we are. Right to the edge of that pencil line. I'm just going to wipe off my hands and we're going to reinstall this and see where it's at. This might not be low enough, but we can always take more material off. We can't put more back on. So it's actually better if we aren't low enough. That is significantly lower. So now I'm just looking to see how straight are we? How straight are we? And it looks like we can take off a little bit more. We still have a bit of an up angle on this, so we'll just loosen it again. Pry it on out of there and sand a little more. Now, I didn't quite go up to that top of that pencil line. If you had gone past your pencil line, put another pencil line on there because you want to know that you want to be able to track how far you're going. Tell you, man, this place is dusty. Dusty. And we got a little more to go. All right. Now I'm actually right at the very top of the pencil line. Try not to get bone dust on the nice, freshly oiled bridge. Slide that bad boy in there. Now, I will tell you, if you end up going too low, which I truly hope that I didn't, you will want to, or you can get away with using a shim. So, if you ended up going too low following this process, don't freak out. Don't think you have to take it in. Don't think you have to go get like a new saddle or anything like that. Certainly don't try to get one of those pre-made ones that's supposed to just fit perfectly because that's never going to end up being the case. Oh man, so much better. So my E string looks really good. It does go up a little bit, but the E string is always higher. The low E string is always higher than the high E string on these guitars. Now I'm going to start tightening up this high E string. Ooh, yeah. So we have just a little tiny bit of rise. No buzzing anywhere. Now we could go a little lower. This is already really quite low. Um, very, very low. And the reason why we can go slightly lower is simply because, hey, this is a Taylor. You hit zoom home again, so my head's not cut off. So, um, I'm not going to risk it. And the reason why I say that is because it actually looks like the nut is cut a little too low. Our high E string is not buzzing right now, but it's almost sitting on that first fret. You want to try to zoom in and show that? That is, there is barely any clearance here at all. Yeah, look at that. That little tiny bit, it's on it. So we have just barely any clearance here. If I push it down here, it's literally laying on top of that fret, and you actually want a tiniest little bit of clearance right there. So I'm not going to go any lower in fear of buzzing here, not because buzzing everywhere else. So let's finish restringing this thing. Let's get all the strings on here. Let's get it tuned up and let's check this thing out. We saw how low the action was to an extent. I know it's kind of tough to tell. With a camera, I assure you it was very high and not very comfortable to play, especially for a Taylor. If you're wondering, hey, I just bought a Taylor, do I need to do this? The answer very well could be yes. I just bought a 312 CE a few months ago, and it was the first thing that I did. I had to sand the saddle down right away because the action was just like, man, this isn't Taylor action. So first thing I did, boom. And that thing is just crazy low. I think you've played it before, Everly. Yeah. And the difference was night and day. I also did it to my Eastman that I got as well. So yeah, you might have to. It's kind of a bummer when you spend that much money on a guitar, but at the same time, bringing it to a professional to do it, it's not going to be that much, and it's really going to make the playability just massively better. Whoa, 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 whoa! Oh no, Caden's here now. Caden, he said hi to me, but not to you. Get used to it. You're the off-camera personality. What was that? Oh yeah, I don't know what that means, but ah, wonder if anybody out there, while I'm doing this boring stuff that you probably already know how to do, anybody out there get any new guitars lately? I have a new one that arrived today. I haven't had a chance to mess with it yet. It is an LTD Viper 1000, the most metal guitar I've ever owned. It is a vibe. It's a vibe for sure, and it's got an Everton bridge on it. That's really why I bought it. Now he says hi. You guys notice how I haven't been holding these down or anything like that? If you install them properly, which I'm not saying I do every single time, I've had some pop up on me, but if you install them properly, pulling that string up, getting it in there tight, you're not going to have to do that thing. I don't know if you've ever seen guitars where people have pushed them in so much that the hole's just so wide you actually have to push it down and then hold it while you're winding it up. Otherwise, it pops out of there and it makes you all nervous. And if you don't know how to restring it, I would say take it to your local music store. But I don't know if they know how to properly do that either. There's a lot of people out there that don't know that you shouldn't do that, and it kind of blows my mind. It's crazy. Um, that is people that work at music stores. That's what blows my mind. The average person out there, I can understand why you wouldn't know that. Especially when we're talking about like the big box store type places. I'm not going to mention any names, but like those places where you just sometimes you just don't know who you're getting. So the action is so much lower. Let's tune this thing up. Do I have a tuner? I thought one of these was going to pop out for sure while I was saying that because I just got done saying, "Oh yeah, if you do it right, it never pops out." Yeah, I was like, "Pop." All right, now we're going to stretch a little. There are string stretcher tools. I have some. I don't know where they are. They make a horrendous noise, and I don't know if it's going to pick it up with the mic because you hear like, yeah, it's super high pitched. Hmm? Yeah, there's a tool for that. So basically, it holds the string on top and bottom, and then you pull it along the string. Um, they need to be used properly, though. Well, a lot of them are made out of plastic, so if you just go and you keep going like this on it, it actually starts melting the plastic, and then they break very easily. So, stretchy, stretchy, stretch, stretchy, stretchy, stretch. Oh my goodness! My favorite part of restringing a guitar. Look at my face. Look how excited I am. I don't want to get copyrighted. Yeah. Cool. So it's quite comfortable up the neck, even up to the cutaway. Um, Now again, I would want this a little lower personally, but if I go any lower, we're going to be buzzing off this first fret here because the nut was just cut too low, and that's from the factory. They just cut the nut way too low, and I mean, we never touched it. It's just too low still, and bringing this down. anymore. We're just going to be literally sitting on that fret, and we just can't have that. So, um, can the action be better on this guitar? It absolutely could with a new nut. So, but that's not what we're here for. So, I will tell you, we probably dropped this action almost in half with how bad it was. It was awful between both standing this saddle and also straightening this neck out because we had a dip in the neck, which we brought up, which brought the action closer just from that alone. And then when we sanded this thing down, as you can see, we still have more to go. We could go lower if we had a properly cut nut on there, but we can't go any lower without that. So that's also not something you can really do at home. The saddle is something you can do at home. Most people can do that. You can go to the hardware store, buy some sandpaper, and you can do this on your own. It's totally doable. Again, just take your time. Take off a little bit at a time. Make sure that you're sanding it perfectly flat. You saw how fast I was sanding. You're probably not sanding that fast. I do this all the time. So it's just second nature to me at this point. It's muscle memory. Um, I would have never stopped sanding it until I got to the top of that pencil line had I not been on the stream to show you guys what I do. So, yeah, it's a fairly easy thing you can do at home. And again, if you end up going too low, you can always put a little shim in there to raise that saddle back up. But try not to go too low, right? Do it right the first time. Let's work that way. So all I have left to do is really clean this guitar down, wipe down the body. We're going to reinstall the truss rod cover, and then we're going to be done with that. But you've seen pretty much everything I had to show you today. Hope you guys learned something. Hope it was informative. If you have any ideas for videos you'd like me to do in the future, whether that's on the channel with just the regular videos or even the live stream, you got an idea, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Always looking for ideas. I just got a 1965 Rickenbacker 365 in today for some repair work. I'm going to try to bring that on the stream. It's a very, very cool guitar in really nice shape. Just needs a lot of cleaning and some new output jacks and stuff like that. Very unique guitar. Kind of a gem. They're not around often, and when you find them, they're usually three, four, $5,000 guitars when you find them. So this one's really cool. It's got the beautiful inlay. Um, Very old school, and yeah, it dates back to 1965. September of 1965 to be exact. So um, really cool guitar. I want to do that on the stream. I have a couple guitars that I'm currently trying to rebuild right now. So I have a PRS body and neck that I would like to get together so we can do that on the stream one day. I got a 1970s Takamine I need to put frets and stuff on. So lots of things to do here. But if you guys got your own ideas and you want to say, hey, how do I do this? How do I adjust this? How do I change this? How do I do that? Let me know. We'll try to do streams or we'll try to do videos for it. So thank you for those of you who stopped by. Thanks to those that are watching after the live. I completely understand if you're not able to make a 7 p.m. Wednesday random live. Um, totally get that, but I really do appreciate all the support we've gotten. Getting a lot of nice comments on our videos and things like that. So we're going to keep it up, and hopefully you guys keep following up on that stuff. So again, thank you again. If you got the ideas, send them our way. Otherwise, we appreciate it. We'll see you on Wednesday next week at 7 p.m. Central. Take care.